Just looking at the numbers that we saw, clearly a tough period for One Time. Is that the correct prognosis?
It was fairly tough for One Time Airline, but in our view, we performed quite well. We made 70 million rand headline earnings in the airline, strong revenue growth. We had passenger numbers up 7% in a flat market. We had yields up 3%. We had load factors up. The only thing that hurt us really was the price of oil that went up compared to last year or the year before, and also the steep increase in the airport charges. If you take those two numbers out, we really performed well. Once again, we outperformed the market. Our margins are still the highest in the industry, so we're pretty happy with the airline. Things went wrong in the aircraft maintenance facility, which is essentially a labor business. We sell labor in US dollars, and the strong rand wiped out our margin. We've taken steps to fix that. We fixed the balance sheet. We brought down fixed costs, and we hope for recovery in 2011 in the maintenance business as well.
Okay, so recovering the maintenance side of things, how do you plan to grapple with the increase in airport taxes and airport costs, and also the oil price, which is definitely not abating?
Look, there's always a concern on the oil price. What's in our favour is the steep increase is based on sentiment rather than fundamentals. We've not seen any fundamental shift in supply or demand, and it's all linked to sentiment, what's happening in North Africa and Japan. If you look at last time this happened, when sentiment drove oil up to $147, it dropped it right down to 40. So sentiment is normally short term, and we'll live through this, and let's hope it drops again as it normally does.
Nicholas.
Well, I think it's a very tough industry. So I mean, it's disappointing to see that the results were hurt by the one division of it. But I mean, One Time's done a hell of a lot. I think they're the fastest growing airline in South Africa, and have certainly developed new routes up to Livingston and so on. I've personally been on one, and I thought it was fantastic. So I think great opportunity there, just disappointing set of results. I mean, there's a lot of exogenous factors that they can't control, like the oil price, like the rand, US dollar, and affects many companies in South Africa. But then again, you need to kind of learn to work around that, and obviously reading the results briefly this morning, having a look at them, they're obviously implementing something. You know, generally speaking, it is on the penny stock side of things, so it's not a company we really delve in greatly. But if you're looking to get involved in an airline business and you're hoping for recovery, it's a potential opportunity.
I mean, honestly, Glenn, the growth factor coming to the fore, increase in routes, and you're also using a Lanseria as a node, and that also being quite exciting for the overall low-cost carrier space.
We're excited about the growth for 2011. The airline's going to grow from Lanseria, definitely. There's 500,000 passengers a year. They're flying in green aircraft. I think most of them prefer red as a colour. They'd like to pay 30% less for the airfares, so we're going to offer them red aircraft and 30% less on airfares and flights on time. So we're excited about Lanseria.
Can you maintain the 30% less when you're looking at exogenous factors, as Nicholas mentioned?
Yeah, I've run a sample of 60 consecutive days, and the airfares at Lanseria are on average 30% more than our Tambo. So we're saying we'll offer the same airfares at Lanseria as our Tambo, which will be a 30% saving for the consumer.
Looking at the overall competitive space, I mean, looking at what Comair is up to with Mango coming to the fore as well, Kulula still being one of the favourites, how do you plan to stay competitive in an increasingly competitive environment?
Look, to be competitive, you need to operate at the lowest cost, so you offer the lowest airfares and offer the best service. I'm not too concerned about Comair. They're losing market share the last 4 years in a row. In fact, they've stopped printing their passenger numbers for the last 4 years. We're the only airline that publishes our passenger numbers because we're the only airline showing strong growth. So I'm not concerned about Comair. Mango, we haven't seen any significant growth from them. So we're excited about next year, definitely.
I see you smiling there, Nicholas. I mean, when you hear comments like that, competition in the airline industry, growth coming to the fore for One Time, Comair, how do you see the mix coming to the fore? And I know you don't look at these stocks.
No, look, I don't. I was just nice to hear the CEO be so direct about things. You don't often hear that, so it's nice to hear that honesty going forward. I really can't comment on that with regards to the airlines and so on and so forth. It's not really a sector that I look at, but like I said, I mean, I was pretty impressed with the airline part of the business rather than the other part.
Well, Glenn, what kind of advice, or what would you be saying to investors out there, such as Nicholas, that don't really look at the space and not really wanting to allocate funds to a company such as yours?
Well,
what is the selling point?
Well, the investor right now has a choice of two. If he wants to invest in aviation, it's One Time or Comair. The thing I'd look at is the margin. Our margins are probably twice theirs. I'd look at the PE multiple. I think we're trading at 3 and they're probably on 12. So the one's a lot cheaper than the other one. And third, I'd look at the balance sheet. If you look at our balance sheet, our aircraft debt is probably 100 million. The aircraft debt with a new fleet will be 30 times that. Yet the rand profits are quite similar. So it's really a view on risk, growth, and potential.
Why would an investor, though, want exposure to the aviation industry when you see all the challenges that are coming to the fore, and we know that we're going to see a much higher oil price?
Well, it's not boring, I suppose. That's the one advantage we offer. But if you look at oil, if it's moving on sentiment, it will drop down when the fundamentals take over. It's only moved on sentiment without any fundamental shift in supply or demand. So once the fundamentals start driving, which they always do in the long term, we will see the oil price drop way down to where it was a while ago.